Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Lined up this week, but I'm here to tell you that, yo, you can do it.
It's a very present help, helping us.
He will direct your path.
And there you go.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Churchboy Confessions. I'm your host, Emmanuel. Once again, thank you so much. Hope you guys have had an amazing week. I think that, Twitter has this different algorithm, so I don't know if everybody's been having the same conversation, but there's been a very huge and important conversation going on in the Black community right now. This one has, I wouldn't say that, a lot of people think that this conversation is deviating from the cause, deviating from George Floyd and seeking justice for Black men and women that are getting killed by the police and police brutality. But I don't think that this conversation is deviating. And that conversation is about the relationship between Black men and Black women. And I would say that it's definitely been weighing on my mind, just like it has been on a lot of people's. And I thought that it would be a great idea to take this episode and speak on it. And to do that, I thought it would be an amazing time to welcome Miss Kendra Smith to this podcast. Kendra runs a Kreate with Kendra, like she's a Kreate with Kendra host, and she was just added to the team, back in March, right, Kendra?
Back in March, officially dropped.
Exactly, and she's had an amazing podcast. I know many of you guys have listened to it, and if you haven't already, please do. But Kendra, welcome to the show. This is
Thank
amazing.
you so much for having me. I am so excited to be on Churchboy Confessions. What?
That part. Where are you at right now, Kendra?
So I am back home in the Bay Area. I am filming in the Smith household.
Okay. Awesome. So I didn't think that it would be right to talk about what we wanted to talk about today without having a Black woman on my show. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that I have my opinions. I have my stance on these things. But I think that, of course, like, it would mean nothing for me to just say my opinions and stances and experiences as a Black man without having that fortified. Or having, a juxtaposition between my stances and a Black woman's stances. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And just to add to that, y'all, it is so important for Black men and women to give ourselves permission to make room for ourselves in our voices. So it is, this right here is something that is so important for culture, for our history, and for whatever else there is to follow after this.
Right. I completely agree. I think that when you look at the scope of things, the Black voice has definitely been suppressed. But I think this conversation is important because it turns the conversation to something that's more internal. I think that we kind of ignore, I think a lot of people are saying, oh, this is deviating from what we're fighting. But I think before we even are able to successfully defend ourselves as a community, we have to make sure our community is not broken. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that, go ahead.
And it's really hard to do those things simultaneously as we are being suppressed and as we're trying to uplift or just trying to survive, period. How can we use practical tools and tactics to heal ourselves in the midst of trying to survive and live? So we have a task on our hands, people. We do.
Right. I think one of the first points that we got to talk about when we're talking about, this Black women versus Black men dynamic is Black men and the accountability that I think that we've been missing and just the lack of ability that we've portrayed or lack of fervor that we've portrayed when it comes to the topic of protecting Black women. As a Black woman, would you say that you feel protected? And if not, then how so? Like, how exactly so?
In my experience as a Black woman, I would say that I do feel protected by Black men. I grew up in a two-parent household. My dad has always been present in my life. He has never left. He has always, just been there and available for his 3 daughters and his wife. And so my experience is that I feel like black men do protect me, but that's not everyone else's experience.
Right.
So there are some people that don't have a father, don't have a husband or a brother that, are there for them, whether if it's because they are locked up due to this mass incarceration, if they are, not in their lives because of whatever the case may be. There are a million different reasons, but in my personal experience, I do believe that there are black men out there that do love and protect black women.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel you. I think that for a lot of black men, they don't understand, though. Like, they don't understand that that's a lot of people's cases. I think that especially when we're talking about in this specific context, few people are able to put each other in each other's shoes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I was that black man. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, when people would say, like, when a lot of black women would say, protect black women, black men don't do nothing, black men don't do nothing. And it's like, for a long time, I didn't know what they were talking about, quite honestly. And like, maybe that's because, I have my father in my life and I have my sisters with me, and like, we just have a very like strong family structure and whatnot. But I will say that, like, just recently with George Floyd happening and Breonna Taylor happening, but specifically George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, I have seen, like, I don't know why it took me this long. Like, that's my fault. I have seen why there's anger. I have seen why there is frustration. I've seen it because, quite frankly, man, I see a lot of the biggest protesters in this fight right now are black women.
Come on.
So it's like, I just feel like when I see something happen like that, like, I get it. Like, when people say black women stick up for black men, I see that. I see it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And like, it just became more evident for me in this time period. So it's like, for me particularly, I feel like I haven't been super vocal when it comes to such things, like when we're talking about this black man versus black woman thing, because I feel like most of the conversations get taken over with, I'm going to say it, a lot of just toxic rhetoric. Yeah. Like, one of the things I wanted us to talk about was this whole, like, and forgive my language for everybody watching, like, I know it's Churchboy Confessions, but I'm just going to say it. This whole niggas ain't shit rhetoric and all of this, like, black men are the weakest link, that stuff, like, it bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and act like I got the thickest skin and, like, nothing bothered. Like, nah, like, that right there, when people say that, it really bothers me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and let's talk about it, friend. Let's talk about it. I want to continue with the black men protecting black women as we talk about, and I'm gonna say, as he said it, I'm gonna give it an acronym, NAS, NAS, because I don't talk like that.
Okay, bet.
So I want to say, like, when we talk about black men protecting black women and the response to black men not protecting black women is that acronym, we have to ask ourselves, we have to acknowledge the fact that there are some black men out there that do not value black women. What you value, you will protect, period.
Right.
If I had something that was so close to my heart, I'll say, let's say my niece, that is my baby. Do not come for her. You're going to put me in jail because I'm coming for you. Okay. Right. That is my prized possession. I love her dearly and I'm going to protect her. I'm going to do what is right by her. I'm not going to let anyone cross her. I'm not going to allow negative things to be exposed to her. If I can help it to guard her at 3 years old, I'm going to guard her.
Yeah.
But there are some black men that don't value black women. And then we have to acknowledge the fact that how can black men value another human being if they don't value themselves?
Wow.
I cannot expect or require you to value me as a black woman, to affirm me as a black woman, if you don't value yourself. I see a lot
No,
of
I
black...
feel that.
Right. And I see, there are some black men that get caught up in certain things, materials, their situation, excuses. How about that? Get caught up in excuses to where they abandon their responsibilities. And then that's when
I want to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have this theory, because I agree with you, and I have this theory. I feel like, because, last week we dropped the whole interview with one of my friends, Scott Thompson, and we talked about this unspoken black male criteria, where it's you have to check these boxes on the list to be that guy, to be that alpha male, black male, right? And like amongst the list of these things, one of them is getting the girl. You know what I'm saying? And like we've heard it before. Like we like us as men, we idolize the guy that can get all the girls and stuff like that. So a part of me feels like the problem is that it's a lot of us black men that don't necessarily initially or primarily see black women as other human beings to actually love and protect and be there for. But it's the fact that we see them as just a item, as a validator. We need black women, not because we love them, because they validate us of being this big, strong man that, you know what I'm saying? Like the alpha man, they're the validator, but they're not a human being. You know what I'm saying? Would you agree or disagree?
I agree, because women and black men, we're going to get to this and we're going to continue this thread of black men and women are objectified. We are seen as objects to society. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get a little deeper into how men are objectified a little later in the show. But women are an accessory to black men, are an accessory to society in a sense, certainly.
Right. And I would say, I'm be honest with you, and I'm sorry, I didn't know I was cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
I would say that, I guess a part of me, and I don't like that I feel this way, but I have to voice out that this is how I feel. A part of me I've been guilty of turning a deaf ear to a lot of what black women have been complaining about, or I wouldn't say complaining about, but bringing to light, because of the phrase niggas ain't, nas. And also like this term right here pisses me off every time I hear it. It does not matter what the person is talking about. When they say that black men are the weakest link, I hate that with every ounce in my soul. I hate it because I think that it's generalizing all black men, and it's also perpetuating the stereotype that all black men are just heartless like this. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
I feel like, and I don't mean to say this to toot my own horn, but I feel like that I'm someone that really tries every day. And just the fact that I continually to get grouped in with these guys that I wouldn't even say I keep them in my circle, but just I don't associate with these people. I hold people like that accountable and all these different things. But it's just like every time I go on Twitter, it's still black men this, black men that. And it's like, I get it. They say, oh, if it doesn't apply, let it slide. But it's like when you say something that's so broad, you're insinuating all black men. And it's just like, I feel like that's a generalization. And quite frankly, I don't think that generalization is called for. What would you say to that?
I would say to that first off, that we are not responsible for what people say about us. As much as it gets on your nerve, as much as it turns my stomach upside down, and there are a lot of things that are said about black men and women, it is not our responsibility to receive those criticisms. What do you say about yourself? What does God say about you? That you are the head and not the tail. That you are above and not beneath. That you are a lender and not a borrower. That you are royalty, that you are a chosen people, that you are peculiar, that you are a chosen nation. These are things that God says, declares, and speaks over us. So when the enemy, because the thing about it is, we get caught up in the carnality of the situation. This is a flesh thing. This is a war between flesh. Now this is the war in the spirit. And what the enemy does is manipulate and disguises his tactics to make it seem like something else when it's not. Oh, this is a black and white thing. Nah, this is a spiritual battle. And us as sons and daughters of Christ, we have to be aware of that and think higher than that. Not saying that we're better than other people, but we have to think at an elevated level. So if you hear Nas every day of your life, baby, you speak over yourself. And you walk in the authority that God has called you in. You don't have to submit to that. And words are powerful. Yes, they do. That's why God has given us the authority to cast those things down. Right?
No, I completely agree with you. That I think that you put that beautifully. I think that, I mean, I can even think of like a verse, I believe it's in Romans 7, verse 1, where it's just like, God, there's no condemnation for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, God doesn't condemn us, even though the world may.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to think that I'm trying my best every day, but then I still get thrown inside a generalization that says that I ain't this and I ain't that, and then I'm the weakest link. I can't live life being told that every day. But it's like, at the same time, I'm not going to, like, the reason why I haven't really vocalized this as much publicly is because what I don't want it to be is me, ignoring the fact, because like I don't want it to be the same thing where it's like people talking about rioting and looting, where it's like you're mad at somebody's reaction to the pain that they're enduring more than the pain that they're enduring. You get what I'm saying? And like, I don't want to do that to black women, but it's just like I can't help but recognize, like I have to speak how I feel. And I think that in order to move the conversation forward, like although, yes, people are frustrated. Yes, people are angry, and justifiably so. I just feel like the conversation, either it's black men just not caring, like what you're saying, and just being able to affirm themselves and not, not be okay with not being affirmed by other people, or it's just us being more respectful in our rhetoric, But like, you can't always control that second one.
Yeah,
like you were saying.
Yeah, you can't always control it, and I don't want people to assume that this is the approach you have to take right off the bat, because there has been generational damage. There has been trauma in our lives. And so this is something that you have to work at constantly, not occasionally, but every single day. You have to speak over yourself, and you have to live the way according to what God wants you to live, right? And it's not going to happen overnight. We have to first acknowledge the pain. We have to acknowledge what has been said. The question is, what you going to do about it?
Right.
What are you going to do about it? You're going to tell people, stop saying that about me. It's not true. Okay, it's not true. That's fine. But you show them it's not true.
Right.
You carry yourself with a certain esteem. Not, not being cocky, but you carry yourself with certainty. You hold your posture a certain way. You speak a certain way. I can't show you a picture of a duck and expect you to say it's a cookie. No, it's a duck.
Right.
It got a bill, it got, wings, it's in the water. This is not a cookie, this is a duck.
I wanted yeah, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
I wanted to, sorry, there's like a little lag, so I don't mean to be cutting you off. But I wanted you to speak to the angry black woman stereotype. I think that amongst many stereotypes and many degrading things that society has to say about black women, one that has prevailed a lot is this angry black woman stereotype. Can you speak to that? Like, where do you think that stereotype came from? And why do you think that black woman anger is seen as, it's at least put in a different category than any other, complexion of women?
Yes, certainly. As we talk about the angry black woman stereotype, I would like to rename it as the angry black woman myth. I got that from the lovely minister, Dr. Iyanla Van Zandt. She did a series on the angry black woman myth, and it is not true, y'all. It is not true. Not all black women are angry. If you ask me today if I'm angry about certain things, yeah, I am angry about certain things, but do I...
As you should be, yeah.
As I should be, right? But do I live with anger? No. Do I live with bitterness? No. I tell people I got the joy of the Lord. I have a smile on my face. I'm happy for nothing. I laugh at my own jokes. I am living my best life out here, the best way that I can. And I say it's a myth because Black women are the only group of people that are not allowed to be angry in society. It's a myth. You will see one of our other colored brothers and sisters, you know, maybe of the Caucasian persuasion, have interactions with police or with people out in the street, and they can act a plum fool.
Right.
I mean a fool with 2 F's and a whole bunch of L's at the end of it. And be justified. Just look over. But if a Black woman is violated or crossed, we're not allowed to react or to express our feelings. I can remember when Michelle Obama was supporting her husband in his first presidential race. She was expressing herself and her grievances about the injustices of the country. And just for her expressing, Fox News, I'm gonna leave it there. You know, the news in general was out there in the media. Right. I'm gonna leave it right there because y'all know what it is. Was out there in the media talking about, you know, she's an angry Black woman. No, she's not. She is a proud American that is expressing her grievances about a country that she loves that is not for her or her people. The fact that Black women aren't allowed or given permission to feel, then they're categorized as angry. But where does that anger stem from? That anger could be violation, could be molestation, can be abandonment, could be fear, could be sadness, could be grief. Black women grieve.
Right.
Look at
Saka just came out the womb angry.
Oh my! No! We have been conditioned to grieve. Like, we've been put in this life. Like, and I'm gonna take it all the way back because I believe there's power in history. You know, and I'm a historian in my own right. When you go back to the plantation, Black women were raped by their slave masters, forced to have sex with other slaves, forced to even have sex with their own sons. And you know, and it's like slave masters, and I'm going to get graphic, but slave masters would take the milk from their breast so they would not be able to feed their own babies. We have been violated for
And it's
centuries.
crazy to think that none of that translates to how the later generations could perceive the world. It's just crazy to think that.
Like it all just disappeared and we started over from fresh.
Yeah. It just started fresh.
No.
That's people's angry. That happened to people's great grandmothers. If that far.
Yeah. You get spit on, and I can remember stories from my grandparents. That's like what, 2 generations above me, being spit on and called a nigga.
Right.
And what can you do? You can't say nothing. You can't fight back because they hang you. They'll put you to death. And even the things that we deal with, like at work, at school, like Black women, we are so crossed all the time and we're not allowed to be angry. But I want to affirm your feelings. Every Black woman that's listening to this, to affirm our feelings, that it is valid and it's okay to be angry in the moment. It's okay.
I feel that. I think that this kind of moves to a topic where we're just talking about what we need to do to move forward, and just what Black love looks like. Normally when you hear Black love, everything's romantic, but I think that the real love that we need is just brotherly, sisterly love, communal love first. So you had a verse that you wanted to bring up. Do you want to say the verse? You want me to say the verse?
I can read the verse.
Go ahead.
So Mark 12, verse 30 through 31. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and your strength. This is the first commandment. And the second, like it, is you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these.
Right. Amen. I think that verse is something that we really all need to pay attention to in a time like this, especially verse 31, where it says, you shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. I think that brings up two main streams of thought. One is to have compassion. I think that if it's one thing that, I mean, all these videos that I'm seeing of black men attacking black women is something that we all need. We need to show compassion. I think that it's been an issue for us to be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And because of that, we've been talking from our point of view without considering another person's point of view. And the second train of thought that I think comes from that is the idea that I'm not a person that agrees with the whole self-love is the best love. I feel like that's a very selfish saying, but I think that self-love is very important because you need to be able to love others as you love yourself. You understand what I'm saying? What would you say to these?
I really want to focus in on the word neighbor. When the Bible speaks about loving your neighbor as yourself, it's not talking about, your next door neighbor, but you should love them too. But it's talking about people that's hard to love. People that you find it to be a challenge to love. Those folks that have those hard shells that don't see eye to eye to you. And even in the context of black men and black women, I want to go a little deeper in that. Society has conditioned black men to not be lovable. Society has conditioned for black women not to be lovable. And in this case, when we talk about the neighbor, the Bible is saying, love those people that society conditions you not to love. And the crazy thing is that we don't know that we were conditioned not to love ourselves as a people.
Right.
Black men
it reminds me of another verse.
Yeah, go ahead.
It reminds me of another verse where it was just you don't really, I forgot exactly how it goes, but it's just what, as a Christian, it was Jesus basically explaining about how any man can love or give a great gift, or any man can love his friend, you know what I'm saying? But it takes a special person to love somebody that doesn't reciprocate to them, that is their enemy, that isn't their friend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The Bible speaks about that a lot. When it says you give money to people, or you give money to your friends. Okay, the wicked, they do that. So what makes you any different? It takes a lot for us to even love our enemies. The Bible says love our enemies and love those that persecute us. We have been beaten down and persecuted by the world, by each other. But we have to still love each other through that pain and that hurt. And I think love is tossed around and thrown, so loosely to where we forget the value of it. Love has no conditions.
Yeah.
It has no conditions.
I feel that. I would say this, just to pretty much wrap this whole thing up. We got to do another one of these first and foremost.
Certainly.
But I would say that, to all the black men watching, I'm going to speak to the black men. I think that for us, we can talk about, hey, we don't like how black women do this. We don't like how black women are reacting to this. But one thing I just want to say is that, the way I like to see it is you respect black women because it's a principle. You respect black women because the Bible says to love your neighbor. and be okay with the fact that maybe you have instances in your life where that has not been reciprocated. I feel like if you follow that as a principle, it's going to get rid of a lot of the spite that we might have in our hearts. So yeah, Kendra, do you have any last words that you wanted to say?
Yes, I would like to speak to the women. And first off, I want to tell all of the women that you are beautiful, that you are bold, that you are courageous, that you are phenomenal, and that it is okay to hurt. It's okay to grieve, to be saddened, to be angry, to be happy, to be joyous, and to also encourage us as women to extend that love, not just within ourselves, but to extend it to the Black men. Just like you, the Black men have been hurt and have been damaged and violated. And so that is a commonality that we can mourn together, we can grieve together, and that we can heal together as a community.